I'm gonna say what's on everybody's mind. The Avengers in X-Men 97 absolutely sucked. However, I do think that the MCU could learn some lessons from Marvel's newest animated series. My name is Jermaine, and these are 3 lessons that the MCU need to learn from X-Men 97. Number 1, have a plan. Before the first episode of X-Men 97 even aired, they were already working on season 2, so that way they could keep the continuity and they knew exactly where they were going. In the MCU after Endgame, it just seems like Marvel was trying to do a bunch of different things leading up to Secret Wars, which is fine, but if you look at phase 4 and 5 in their totality, it just looks like Marvel really didn't have a plan of how to get there. We can even compare continuity. X-Men 97 took place 20 years after the original animated series, and it's without many continuity errors. Meanwhile, in the MCU, we have Scarlet Witch completely doing a 180 from WandaVision to Multiverse of Madness, and there is no way you can tell me that that is the same Nick Fury we saw in Secret Invasion compared to the Marvels. You know what could have really saved them? If they had a plan. Number 2, realizing that there are more to the X-Men than Wolverine and Jean Grey. Cyclops is my favorite X-Men, and I'll never forgive Fox Studios for making him absolutely suck, not once, but twice. I love Wolverine as much as the next person, and I'm excited to see him in Deadpool and Wolverine, but it was so refreshing to see the other characters get the spotlight and for him to fade a little more into the background. When the X-Men get introduced into the MCU proper, it doesn't need to be the Wolverine show, and we absolutely don't need another Phoenix saga, at least for the next decade. And I gotta be honest here, when I was writing this whole thing, I completely, and I mean completely, forgot that Storm was in the First Class era of the X-Men. You could completely remove her and nothing would change. Absolutely nothing. Storm, an Omega, that is criminal. I'm not saying we can't let the new Wolverine come out and shine or have him in the background the whole time, but it's time for us to fall in love with these other mutants the same way we fell in love with Hugh Jackman. And number 3, please make us fear the villain. There's an old saying, show don't tell, and that's exactly what this series did. It didn't tell us why we should be afraid of these villains, but it actually showed us why we should be afraid. Spoiler alert for the show, but when the Genosha massacre happened and Gambit died, that's when we were like, oh snap, anything and everything is on the table, and we didn't know which one of our favorite X-Men could have been next. And from there on out, we was like, okay, it needs to be taken seriously. There's a heightened sense when it came to the rest of the story. And one would think that the MCU has already learned their lesson. A compelling villain usually equals success in a good movie. And when the villain sucks, the movie usually does too. The only exception that I can think of is Guardians of the Galaxy. But those are the 3 lessons that I feel like the MCU should learn from X-Men 97, but I know there's more. Comment below. Let us know what other points or lessons that you think that they should bring over from the animated show to the cinematic universe. We will be back Sunday morning with this week's headlines, so we'll see you soon. Bye.